Hey guys, welcome back. It's been 3 months since my last video. I believe my last video was my post Sandy 2 video. Since then, I've done a couple of what I call reboots of my tank environment. The first reboot I did about 2 months ago. I removed some of the dry rock or the dead rock that I started with that, I assumed cured in the tank since I first started it in last year, and late last year, I think it was like August or September when I brought this tank online. I removed some of that dry rock and I did a really big water change because I started developing a green hair algae problem, and I assumed that perhaps it was the dead rock or the dry rock that was not either cured long enough before I started the tank, or before I added the fish rather, or if it was just something else in the system was just leaking phosphates. But I tested the water and with a good phosphate test kit, and it came out as 0. I didn't have a second test kit to compare it just to see if maybe my original test kit was stale or not, but it was a brand new kit and it had a far enough into the future's date, expiration date, so I figured what the heck, it's probably okay. But I just let it go for a couple of months after the first restart, and the hair algae didn't seem to grow anymore. Or didn't spread, but it still stayed on the dry rock, and it was only the dry rock that I had in the tank. Not after. I also added, I should say, some just smaller pieces of live rock, cured live rock with the coralline algae on it to help promote coralline algae growth on the dry rock, but that never happened, and it's I was kind of disappointed. So I watched it for a couple of months. I tried a couple of things. I tested my water, and my parameters seemed to be fine. But still, to no avail. I could not get rid of the green hair algae. I also even tried running it for like a week or so without any lighting, and still. It just remained, and it seemed to somewhat flourish. So yesterday I did reboot number 2, and in reboot number 2 I removed all of the dry rock that I started with when I first started the tank, like last August or September. I removed all of that rock, and that was all of the rock that had hair algae on it. A couple of pieces of the coral at the bottom had some hair algae on it. I just pulled, the hair algae off the coral and rinced my fingers in RODI water, and then replaced put the coral back into the tank on the sand bed. I'm still waiting for my torch coral to open up. He seems a little shell-shocked right now. He still hasn't opened up yet. But I also am planning a 20-gallon water change, even though, like I said, once again, my water parameters seem to be okay. During the first reboot, I had, traces of nitrates in the tank, but it was still very low. I think I forget what the actual number was, but it was near 0, but it wasn't quite 0. And it's pretty much measuring 0 now. And it has been for the last few weeks. So I don't know if adding the new live rock into the tank that I did yesterday, if it's going to give me a mini cycle or whatever. But I'm kind of looking out for that, and hopefully hopefully it won't, or if it does, it won't harm the livestock that I do have, which is still the survivors, the Sandy survivors. So I figure, if it can survive, no lights, no circulation, no heat, for a week or so, due to the blackout conditions that I had in my apartment, from Sandy, then I'm hoping that the changes that I've made to the tank yesterday won't really do anything to them either. I figure they're really gangster right now, so they could probably take it. Also, in this particular restart or reboot, I also turned off my skimmer because I've been having some issues with it. It's the eShop's PSK100 or PS75, I forget which model it is. But it's the model that's rated for, like basically a 100-gallon tank. I turned that off because although it is, producing skimmate, the skimmate is kind of wet, and I can't seem to really get this particular skimmer dialed in properly. I mean, sometimes it fills up the collection cup really, really quick with water. Sometimes it seems like it's not skimming at all, even though there's foam and whatnot. So I've read a couple of reviews and looked at an old YouTube video where somebody talked about this skimmer, and they pretty much said that it had a problem. There were issues with dialing it in, and there was a mod that you could do to it. I'm really not going to get into that. If I can't figure it out, I'm going to just toss it and, perhaps buy a better protein skimmer. But right now I'm not running a protein skimmer either. I'm also not dosing because with the water changes that I've been doing, I found that, my calcium, alkalinity, those parameters were, just fine. And, my temperature has been fairly stable, thanks, of course, to the Reef Keeper and, the thermometer, the heater that I have in the tank that I can, pretty much set to like, somewhere between 79 and 80 degrees. I used to have a problem with my pH, but that's pretty much stable now. During the day, it's like 8.28 or close to 8.3, and in the evenings it drops down to the lower 8.2s, but it's been fine. So I'm going to see if this reboot is going to take, and I hope to not have such long gaps between updates. I want to thank you guys for all my new subscribers and all the views. I think in the last week or so went over 60,000 views in all of my videos. I find that just to be totally amazing. I mean, I know it's not as much as some of the the major players that I follow on YouTube, but thanks anyway, and thanks again. And that's it. Keep the comments and the questions coming, and hope to have another video for you guys soon. Take care.